Hi, guys, and welcome to Health Summit, where you're gaining clarity so you can lead with confidence and finally turn that passion into profit. I'm Laura Sherrill, a high-performance women's health coach and the founder of Balanced Bombshells, and today I'm here with Nikki, who is a period expert and the founder of My Moon Box. Nikki is your go-to girl when it comes to anything menstrual related. Through years of studying and research, Nikki's mission is to empower females with a holistic approach to balancing hormones and relieving period problems naturally. Nikki believes that living your life in sync with your cycle and support of your hormones is the missing key when it comes to feeling your best and living your most vibrant, fulfilled life. I couldn't agree more, Nikki. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing so well. Started my day off with a dip in the ocean, and a sneaky dip in the ocean, to be honest. And a little run, and I'm feeling good.
Oh my gosh, because you're in Australia, so it's just fun to be able to connect with, people all over the world, even, virtually. So one thing I love asking the women in this summit is how you got started in your business and why.
Yeah, so I guess the why comes from my own health journey and my own struggles with menstrual health. I was one of those teenagers that grew up with really bad period symptoms. Pretty much every symptom, like you name it, I experienced it, like debilitating cramps to horrible acne breakouts when I didn't want to leave the house, terrible mood swings, all of that jazz.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so common.
None of my friends they would have like slighter symptoms, like not to the severity that I did. So it's a very lonely journey. So I appreciate talking to women like you who I'm like, cool, I know what you're talking about.
Right. And I feel like you kind of fall into that mentality when you're younger as well, that like, you grow up around that ingrained societal belief that it's just normal. And you're like, okay, I'm just destined to put up with this. Like, don't really ask questions about it. And you just kind of, rely on downing those painkillers each month to get by, which is what I did. And also, I guess, ended up on the pill, like most women, kind of like a rite of passage at around 16 years old, no questions asked, like excited to go on it. And it was during that time, like over the 6 years that I was on the pill, that sure, like my cramps went away and my acne went away, but I became like really, really depressed and fatigued.
Same here.
And I had chronic UTIs and thrush. I was just so unhappy, and I honestly didn't connect any of the dots till I came off the pill 6 years later. And my depression went away, the gut issues I was having definitely became worse, but the cramps and acne came back, and I was like, hang on, what the hell just happened? And I remember this specific moment when like the doctor offered me another pill, like a different form of the pill, and I was like, no, there has to be another way.
Right.
And I guess, like, long story cut short, that's when I decided, like, okay, I'm going to start taking control of my own health. I started studying nutritional health science and learning, the power of food and lifestyle and certain supplements. And I started, making changes slowly over a few years, and got to a place where I was like, oh, like I don't experience any symptoms anymore. I actually enjoy my period. Yeah. Like, why weren't we taught about this? Why doesn't every single woman know about this? And I guess that's where the idea of Moonbox kind of, came in, where I saw a gap in the market, and there was just this huge, this need where there was so many women suffering and looking for answers and, alternatives to, taking synthetic hormones. And I was like, okay, there's something here. I want to share my story. I want to, challenge the societal like norms and beliefs around menstruation, and like provide that support for women so that they can learn more about their bodies and how their hormones actually work, because we're never taught that stuff, and be able to like naturally relieve symptoms and actually enjoy your period and then fertility and beyond for the long term. So I guess that's where Moonbox came from. The idea was born, in a little nutshell.
I love that, because like we're talking to women right now too about turning your passion into profit, and like part of that passion can come from your pain because it motivates you beyond anything else. So I definitely have a similar background to you, where like after I got off the pill, all of those symptoms kind of came back and like at full force, and it was like very clear that I didn't know how to deal with them. I clearly had no idea that you could live without them. And then I went back into the doctor like you did, and they were like, do you want to go back on the pill? And I was like, well, the fact that the pill made me gain 10 pounds and I just lost it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say no. I cared more about the weight loss than I think anything else. And it was very much like, oh, I need to figure this shit out for myself. There must be another way. Even though at the time, it was probably the same time as you, where there wasn't much information out there for women our age. So when I started studying hormones, it was very much for women who either were having a hard time with fertility, or they were like 40 plus, and it was like the menopause group. So it's been really interesting, the change that's been going on in the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I just loved your business. So I don't think every woman watching right now knows what My Moonbox is. Can you explain a little bit of what this is and how it supports our period health?
Yeah, absolutely. So Moonbox is very much so like both an educational and product-based subscription business. The online side of the program is over 12 weeks, and it guides you through all the foundations of hormone health. So nutrition, lifestyle, environmental, detoxification. So you go over all those foundations step by step through weekly videos. And then you're also supported with a monthly delivery of Moonbox products. And these products were developed in collaboration with incredible like naturopaths, nutritionists, aromatherapists, specifically formulated to complement the program and support those like nutrition and lifestyle changes that you're making. So it's very much a all-rounded like holistic approach where you're not really missing anything. It's providing you with all of the knowledge and the support to really rebalance hormones and set yourself up for healthy, happy menstrual cycles.
I love that too, because like to be able to be like, okay, I'm learning all this stuff, but to have like hand-picked products that are proven to support our menstrual health. Like I love that so much. And I love that because at first I think when I found you, I thought it was just products. And then when I was looking at your website, I was like, oh my gosh, like I love her so much. She's also providing education with it. So you just did such a great like blend. And I know like you started in Australia, you've been breaking into the US, and you've started to grow in different markets. Do you want to explain a little bit of like what that's been like?
Yeah, so it's interesting. When I first started, it was just the products, right? Before I even launched, and it was like, I knew what a subscription box was. They weren't established in Australia when I first started. In the US, I knew it was like known as a subscription addiction, and I could see that subscription boxes contain products from different companies, right? And then you kind of just wholesale and put in one box. And I honestly started that way. I had different companies' products in one box. It took me about 7 months to create. And I got to the end product and I was like, I hate it. Like, this is not how I wanted to support women. It's not going to be as effective. It's not going to change their lives. And one thing, like the biggest thing I learned was that how companies are not transparent with the quality of their products, so the sourcing of the heavy metal testing. And I was like, I can't sell this because what I thought were my favorite products that I put into a box, I really didn't know anything about. And so that's when I decided to like start from scratch. And I was like, I'm going to develop my own products. I'm going to like spend time looking into the quality of ingredients and the sourcing. And then I got to a place of having all the products and I was like, it's still not enough. Like I need a program. Like people can't just take products and then not know how to, live their life in support of hormones, because, products aren't the be all and end all. They're just that extra support. So it's so funny that you just started with saying that, because that's what I love about Moonbox too. It is that product and the foundational support. But so I started in Australia. I launched last July, and I started in my parents' house. I pretty much took over my entire parents' house, and within 12 weeks I was already outsourcing logistics because it blew up pretty fast, which was amazing. And that's when I started looking at shipping like to the US as well a couple of months ago, because there was such a demand there and people are so much more familiar with the subscription structure. They trust it more. They sign up a lot faster compared to Aussies, which is really interesting. And it's something that I'm still managing my way around, is like how to communicate and build that trust with people who aren't so familiar with signing up to a recurring payment. a recurring payment plan. And especially like with Moonbox, it is a 3-month commitment. Because like I believe if you're just going to do something for 4 weeks with your hormones, it's not going to make a difference.
Correct.
So many people are like, oh, I don't want to, commit to 3 months. I'm like, well, you're not ready to commit to your health, because it's going to take, at least those 3 months to like transform your hormones and really make, achieve improvements. But through like a lot of, I feel like since launching, the whole business has just been trial and error. Like, I had no idea what I was even going to look at. Always, it's just like one foot like in front of the other, and then the rest of the steps keep appearing. Like, one thing that I feel like the biggest learning thing of Moonbox so far is like the importance of creating community, and a community that really supports you and is empathetic, and who you can ask for constant feedback from. Because I'm always asking for feedback, and that's been my biggest help in being able to constantly like evolve and improve Moonbox, because it's already changed like so much. Like every month I'm like improving it and changing it in some way in response to my like subscribers' experience. And I think that's like one of the most important things to stay on top at the moment, especially with the current environment we're in with, coronavirus. We're wanting to constantly adapt and change. But I went from like being every 12 weeks, doing an intake every 12 weeks, to then opening up to, every day anyone can order, and I'm shipping all the time now. I went a little bit off track, but that's
no, I think it's awesome, because, and I love what you said about like the 3 months, because like I personally, when I take on clients from the health perspective, will only take on in a 3-month package, because that's the way our hormones work. Like any changes you make to your body, and like the women who are listening who don't know hormonal health that well yet, any changes we make to our bodies, whether it's diet, fitness, supplements, anything, takes an entire month for our hormones to reset. And we only see like a slight improvement. So like you have to stay consistent. Month 2, you'll see another slight improvement, but it's really by that 3rd month that like women start seeing a drastic improvement. So I love that you have that ingrained in the backbone of your business, because it really goes to like the foundation of what women's health is, especially for women to be able to see and feel those results.
Yeah, I totally agree. And really setting the expectation that, the 12 weeks is just the beginning still. This is like kickstarting you into your lifelong relationship with your body. It's like period health is a long-term project. It's not something that you make a few changes for 12 weeks and then you drop everything and you're like, well, why did my cramps come back or whatever? Like the power is in the awareness of what actually does affect your menstrual experience. Like if I experience cramps and PMS, and people are like, what, you still experience them? Very rarely, but when I do, the power is in being able to reflect on like the past 3 months and look at, okay, what have I done over the past 3 months where maybe I haven't been honoring my body as much as I usually do? How is it affecting my cycle? Maybe I was more stressed, or wasn't moving my body much. And I think that's where the power lies. And like the 12 weeks is the kickstart. You become aware of like the things that do affect your hormones, and that sets you up.
And I think with that too, like it definitely kickstarts you into that realm. But then once you become so used to it, it keeps you on your toes. Like all the little habits that I needed to change because it was clearly not serving me, when I'm like faced with it. So maybe it's sugar. Sugar is a great example. I don't do well on sugar. We all know it's like a drug. It basically creates a lot of inflammation. It's not our friend. As much as we want to be like, yeah, okay, I can dabble in it. Nope, can't dabble in it. And I'll go to parties and friends are always like, how can you say no to like cookies or cake? And I was like, one, I'm also really sensitive to gluten and dairy, which most of these things have. So like that for one keeps me motivated. But 2, I also know that it's going to give me more PMS symptoms. It's going to make me feel really tired, and I'm more likely to get cramps, even though my period is like 3 weeks from now. So like really from your soul of how you want to be in life, it keeps you on your toes, because you can be more objective and think more long-term versus immediate.
Absolutely. It's that like, how do you weigh up that momentary like satisfaction of eating the cookie compared to like, long-term, like feeling vibrant and healthy in your body? It's just not worth it.
We have to just recreate it in a way that tastes really good, where you get that sweet flavor, but not where it's crashing your hormones. So I love that you created your Moonbox products, and because you were so dissatisfied with what else was on the market. I think that is so powerful, and our world is changing so much where women expect our products to be serving us and our bodies. And so to kind of dive into your favorite products and realize that they're not up to par, I just love that you like took that in your own hands and was like, fuck you guys. I'm going to figure this out for myself. So in the Moonbox, like when women get it delivered to their door, do they get the same products every single month, or does it change based on their subscription?
So over the 3 months, so you get a box of products a month, there's about 7 to 9 different products. And each of those products are going to complement kind of like where you're at on the online program as well. So each month you're going to get a different elixir. So we've got the Luna's elixir range, which are like herbal and adaptogenic blends, which really, support your adrenal function and your pretty much all hormonal like daily balance. And then you've got things like our magnesium oil, Moon Boost, which, magnesium is my favorite period mineral ever.
It helps so much on like emotions and cramps. Like
everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Magnesium it's truly amazing. The beautiful thing about it is that once you start using it, it really can take effect quickly.
Yeah.
And it's going to help not just, it's going to help support your pretty much entire hormonal, functioning, and every kind of treatment for PMS, from PCOS to help with endo symptoms and all that jazz. So it's definitely why I have, I have the oil. I've sourced it took me so long to source this oil. And a lot of people love supplementation too. I still will take, magnesium supplement oral sometimes, but the oil is amazing in that it doesn't, it bypasses your digestive system. So it's just like absorbed transdermally directly into your skin and, into your bloodstream, and it goes where it's needed, which is why I find it so effective. But yeah, each month is a different range of products. We have essential oils. There's, in the last box, you have like more so like bath salts, and we have non-toxic skincare as well, because we want to one of the months is very much focused on like detoxification and how can we detox our lives from environmental toxins and chemicals from in our skincare and household products, which can really interfere with estrogen metabolism. So I've got like a non-toxic clay mask and the face mist and all of that jazz as well. So it's definitely quite a range of products over the 3 months. So it keeps each month is it's different, so it's exciting as well. So you get that little surprise of what's in each month.
Yeah. And I love that too, because like sometimes when you sign up for those things, you're like, okay, it's just going to be like teas and food. But the fact that you're like, no, I'm being like super specific on where you're at, where you're learning. And then the skincare, I mean, I like, kid you not, saw the biggest change in my skin when I switched all my products. And I'm like, that and cutting out dairy. Those two changes were like life changing. And I'm like, so I'll tell friends, like, I miss cheese so much. Like, pizza is not the same, even though I make like gluten-free, like cauliflower crust pizza. Like, literally, that's my path now. But I miss the cheese so much. But I'm like, no, for vanity reasons, I have to stay away. But it's just really awesome that you have such a wide range. And I saw on your Instagram, you also have like moon seeds to help with like the seed cycling.
Oh yeah. I forgot, that's my favorite product. One of my favorite products, earth
I was
seeds.
like, oh, I love it.
Yeah, the earth seeds is like hemp seeds, chia, and sesame. And they're your, essential fatty acids, which we need to help make hormones. So it's just like helping women become more conscious of their consumption of the fatty acids and consistency. That's one thing I always, like, I feel like my subscribers hear me say it 1,001 times. I'm like, your body requires consistency from you in order to experience consistently healthier cycles. And that's where like Earth Seeds is actually the one product that comes in every month of Moonbox, because every day I want you to just be sprinkling those seeds over your food, like anything, smoothies, curry bowls, whatever it is. It's just getting into that habit of, have I got my fat intake in today?
Right. Well, the fat and the fiber, because like the fiber, I have to talk to women a lot about fiber, and I'm like, okay. And like, I don't really think it's our fault of not knowing these things. Like, the way that the products are made now are so different from like when our parents were more our age. Like, they've just very much changed. So we're kind of like re-educating ourselves on what we need to kind of like come back to the basics. So when you work with women, like, especially when someone's just getting started, what are the most common things you have noticed that they need to change first to put them on the path for like hormonal health?
I would say the number one thing is probably food.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, and I'll say before any product or supplement, like no product or supplement is going to outdo poor diet or lifestyle choices. What you're eating, what's on the end of your fork every day is either working for your hormones or against your hormones. And with the Moonbox program, like we very much look at an anti-inflammatory diet. Looking at like we're going through that elimination of the gluten and the dairy and the sugar, alcohol, all these things. And I feel like a lot of women can start my program and they say, oh my gosh, I thought I ate healthy. I really did, but I was not aware of like these specific foods and how they may interfere with my hormones. And everyone's different, and that's why it is very much trial, like experimentation and finding what works for you. Because I will always say there is no one diet that is perfect for you or me. It's some women are going to thrive from more so plant-based diet. Other women really do need meat to nourish their bodies.
That's me.
Yeah, me too. And it is about discovering what works for you. And I feel like that's the place where most women come, and some women will do like one-on-one coaching with me as well through the program if they want that extra support. And it honestly always keeps coming back to the foundational changes with food, and like things like the dairy, not even being aware of, and we grow up believing that dairy is we need it for that strong healthy bones and all that jazz. And it's like, can we challenge these beliefs around that and trial something else and see if that works for us? So it definitely starts with the food. And then I'd say the other part is stress. This is the biggest thing that needs to be looked at and changed. I think that it's the foundation that's so overlooked, and it's going to trump if you're eating a healthy diet and you're still stressed through the roof. You're just going to keep going, why can't I get on top?
Right.
You're going to keep clashing heads. And I think that stress is so overlooked. And when our body is in a state of stress, our poor little hypothalamus, the hormone command center in the body, is like screaming at our ovaries to shut down. Like it's not a safe time to bring a baby into the world. And then we're going to, end up with all sorts of period problems. So I think stress is another one that there's actually quite a big part of Moonbox is looking at the lifestyle factors and going into stress quite deeply and how we can like look to manage it. And so many women are like, oh my gosh, the minute I got my stress under control, my period arrived and it's been missing for 2 years. Yeah.
Well, I think too with stress, like, two things to this. Stress, like even I have to talk to women a lot about how our mental thoughts are attached to like our adrenal glands, which tell our body to pump out more stress hormones. So you might like physically not be so stressed, and I put that in quotes because like it's all connected, but even our mental thoughts from like being stressed out about opening email, or like, for me, I found it as like a really great opportunity to clear out people, things, anything in my life that was not serving me. Like anytime you have that mental dig of like, oh, I don't even want to see this person, like that's causing stress. So like just even making the mental connection too. And I think for women, giving yourself permission to set those boundaries. Like I just set a lot of boundaries on my time and my life, which I'm sure you had to do as well, especially being
absolutely. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I shed a lot.
Yeah. It's like you
cleared a lot.
Yeah. I'm sure you probably feel this way too, but I end up talking to women a lot of like, your hormonal health is like your next level mindfulness. And it's like, it's when you're ready to go to that next level shit. Like, this is not some basic, I mean, it should be basic, but like, it really calls upon you to like rise up to that next part of you. And then
absolutely.
I don't know. I found it to be like a very spiritual experience, especially as we like connect with our cycles and just learn what our period week is actually supposed to be like. And like, I actually, sometimes I feel weird admitting this, but I get really high energy when my period starts. So like I have maybe,
Same.
yeah. Okay, cool.
I
Like
feel
no
weird
one,
admitting that too.
yeah.
I get like guilty
It's
or
like I feel
something. People are gonna think
guilty.
I'm lying.
Yeah. They're like, or like at first you're like, wait, is something wrong? Because like I'm supposed to be more introverted. And it's like, I actually sometimes will be like, am I ovulating? Like I have such high energy
Hmm.
through the roof, but it's really because like once that blood starts flowing, it's like a physical and emotional release, and it actually can be very energetic. So you're the only other person who has admitted that to me, so that's really exciting.
It's yeah, like you, and this is what I'd explained to so many women. I'm like, you do not have to feel fatigued and
Yeah.
shitty during your like on your period. You don't. And once you start, it very much is like once you start living your life in supportive hormones on the days outside of your bleeding, that is when your bleeding transforms. It's not
Yeah.
what you're doing on those few days, but it's the low level, like going back to what you said about like the levels of stress. Like it is, I think you're right, like people think, oh, stress, like no, I don't have like high levels of stress. It's that low levels, like chronic low levels of everyday stress,
Yeah.
like over long periods of time, that make that difference. And I think bring that round to like, we are such like beautiful cyclic beings.
Yeah.
And we live in such a linear world,
Yeah.
especially in the workforce. And we place these like unrealistic expectations on ourselves to show up at that same level every single day,
Right.
completely working against our like innate natural cyclic rhythms, right? No 2 days are going to be the same for us, but you get up, and if we're not living more in sync with our our hormonal rhythms, we're getting up and trying to like do work to the absolute 100% capacity every day, go to the gym at 100%, show up as a mom, a partner, a friend, a boss, whatever it is. And that is what leads to the fatigue, the breakdown, the horrible periods.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is that it's that on all levels to become more conscious about.
Yeah. And that's why, I love connecting with women like you who are advocates for a lifestyle approach to our health. And it's not because I have to like kind of going back to your food part where like it's not one diet that's going to balance your hormones. And I have the same message too, where it's like, you can be vegetarian, you can be vegan, you can be paleo, you could do like a balance of everything and still be able to balance your hormones. It's just as long as you're having the foods that are right for your body. And that is very individual. And we do have to be on our own path to figure that out. But as you're talking about us cycling, there has been such a rise in excitement around cycle syncing, which for me is like the number one thing that other brands and coaches want me to always talk about. Like it's just become this like so like this such a different concept, but like men are becoming more interested in it. Men always ask me at parties what it is. Like it's fascinating. So what is your take on the like rise in excitement of cycle syncing?
I love it. That's pretty much how I live my life. Like I would say I live my life in sync with the different phases of my cycle. And I'm one of the ones that look at it. I like to look at it, and how I explain to, in my program is like, along with like the seasons of nature.
Yeah.
And that's very much the approach I take. Like your your inner winter is your period, and then you've got, spring being your follicular phase, and then ovulation is summer, and then you're going into your luteal phase being autumn, and then back to your inner winter. I look at it through just like the changes in the seasons, like we're also changing, and it's like, how can we show up for our bodies and become more in tune with our fluctuations in energy, in mood, in appetite, and how we feel in our bodies, and honor ourselves on that day-to-day basis with where we're at and how we're feeling. And when you become more in tune with that, it fosters such a deeper level, like a deeper, like self-love and self-acceptance.
Yeah.
And that's what I find out of, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that self-acceptance, it also then like once you have that for yourself, you then command it from other people in your life just naturally. Like it's not like you have to force it, like it just naturally happens because people respond to that confidence that is in you. And I think too, like it's so intuitive. Like once we actually like kind of step into it and we kind of learn what each of the phases are, what we're supposed to be feeling, thinking, we start to see some holes, and then you start balancing your hormones. Things kind of come into alignment. And then you'll like, I found it fascinating of just how much I naturally took to it. And I'm just like, oh, my body's doing this anyway. I've just been resisting it for so long. And I loved your part on the workplace too, because oh my gosh, like my moods were the worst. I had a very like stressful job, and like it was just something where you had to push past your body like every single time to be able to make projects happen. So when I quit my job to focus on Balanced Bombshells full time, my health skyrocketed. Like I could not believe it. Like it's still unbelievable. So my husband would be like, would you ever go back to work in like an office? And I was like, if I open the office, for sure, because especially working with women, I will absolutely set up like, okay, where are you at in your cycle? What kind of projects do you want to work on? How are you feeling? Like literally bringing that practice into play. Because it is so powerful. And like, if you think of like all the women who have struggled with PMS, all the women who have struggled with period problems, that's like 2 weeks out of every single month that we're basically not operating as our best self. That's like 50% of the time for about 40 years. But if you take a moment to look at how far women have come, even with those challenges, what is going to happen when all these women no longer have that? Like, I just always ask myself that question of like, the women are already crushing it.
The world would change.
Yeah. Like, can the world handle it? Seriously. Like, I don't know.
The energy rising. Like, it's to add to that, like, especially looking at it during this time, like, you know, during this pandemic at the moment, I've had so many women reach out who are working from home, and they're like, this is the first time where I've had my period and I've been able to just rest.
Right.
And I get full body goosebumps when I say that, because I'm like, oh my gosh, because I'll always rest more on my period. I'm very conscious of that. The more you rest on your period, the more energy and vitality you're going to have throughout the rest of your cycle.
Yeah.
And they're coming out of their periods, like day 3, day 4, estrogen's on the rise again. They're feeling freaking fabulous. They're like, I didn't know I could feel this way coming out the other end of my period. Like, it's this whole realization of, wow, like when I start honoring my body, when I'm bleeding, it like pays off. And I feel like this time, like it's going to create some change.
Yeah, I think so too. And I love that women have been starting to notice that. Because it's not, I think there's a misconception too about rest. So it's not like you're sitting there all day with your feet up. Like it's not that at all. Your energy shifts. Like no longer are you pushing and forcing yourself to do projects like you might during your follicular and ovulation phase, where it just comes naturally. You naturally feel that push to do more. It's really just like, what do I feel like doing? How much can I get done? And just honoring whatever that is, whether it's workouts, whether it's your physical work or whatever you're doing. So just simply saying no to invitations. So like when I first started practicing cycle thinking, people would be like, oh, you want to hang out? And I was like, oh, let me just check my calendar. Oh, I'm about to get my period. No, I'm sorry, I'm busy that day. And like, that's it. I don't need to explain why. Because I wasn't ready to like talk about it yet, because it was still so new. My girlfriends understood, but it was just really interesting how you like no can be a complete sentence, ladies. You know,
you do not need to have an excuse ever. Ever. I'm the same as you. I very much schedule like podcast interviews or big meetings, like with my marketing team, etc. Mainly around ovulation, because I just know like that is when I'm like thriving. I'm switched on. I'm full of ideas. Like, but and I tell my colleague Daniel, like I have a male who's my main, you know, guy that I work with, and he's amazing. He knows all about I've taught him all about, you know, the different phases of your menstrual cycle, and he'll be like, oh mate, like, okay, you're entering your winter time. He's like, okay, we'll just pull back a little bit. Like I'll reschedule this meeting here. We don't need to jump on the Zoom today. And I'm like, I love you. Like he's like, let me do that for you. So it's even like that communication, like communicating, like, you know, with your partner, if you're in a relationship, like, babe, do you mind cooking dinner tonight? Like I actually, you know, or, you know, do you mind running me a bath? And that's resting.
Yeah. I think, we do have to also educate women too of like how to communicate their needs, because like that's also part of our hormonal health. My husband and I's relationship changed so much when I was able to communicate specifically what I needed. And before, it wasn't like I just didn't know what to ask for, because like we don't know how we're feeling. But I love that your coworker, like,
He's
just
amazing.
just thinking of men, like, and the men are really into this too. So like my husband's
Yeah,
into it. Whenever he's hanging out on guys' night, they're talking about it. Like, it's hilarious. Like, it's like becoming normal conversation at their boys' night.
it's one of my favorite things to do. One of my favorite things to do. That sounds super weird, but a lot of my, like, I have a lot of close friends who are male friends, and they, when they started to have new girlfriends, they were like, oh, like, Adam knows more about my cycle than me. Like, you've taught him all these things, because I would just always be talking to them about it.
Well, and I think too, like, I always have to tell my clients, like, men want to know how to support us.
They want to know.
And like the fact that we're able to then communicate, like, we'll end up having conversations, and I always put it on my shoulders to communicate. I never expect him to know what phase I'm in. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way that he's not in my body. He doesn't know. So I'll always tell him, like, hey, here's where I'm at this week. Here's what you can expect. And every single time, literally even 4 years later, he's like, thank you so much for telling me. Like, I just appreciate not having to guess. I appreciate, like, not having to try and figure it out. You tell me, I know what's expected of me. And like, guess what, ladies? When we ask, they're going to do it. And like, that's what we want anyway. We want them to do it, or like whatever it is, even if it's leaving you alone. Like,
seriously.
Yeah. Cause I'll be like, all right, I'm about to get my period. So you're going to go with your friends? Because like, I don't need to see you. Like, that's how you can support me right now. It's just not, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to anybody. So
yeah, I feel you. I love that so much.
oh my gosh. But it's fun too, because like, even in your work, like, you're starting to train other men, like, what it is. And I just think that those men are going to become parents, many to like girls. And like, one of Tyler's friends is a male nurse. And so he understands hormones in the body pretty well. And so like, we were talking about like cycle syncing and stuff. And he has a daughter who's about a year and a half now. And like, just the way he was talking, like, I actually got in the car and like started crying, because I just kept thinking of like, the support this little girl is going to have, because her dad understands her. And like, oh my gosh, it just touched my heart. And for like this next generation, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just going to be like beautiful.
I cannot wait for that. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Actually, when I've been doing quite a few talks recently, usually I would say like maybe 2 years ago, it was always just females in the audience.
Yeah.
And then now they bring along their partners. And honestly, was one I did, it was like end of last year, and all the people that came up to ask me questions after, not kidding you, were mainly men.
Yeah.
There was one man I'll never forget, and he came because his wife couldn't show up because she has endometriosis and she was in bed with cramps and couldn't even move. And he's like, I've come, I need to learn, I'm going to go home, I'm going to tell her all of these things. And I was like, oh, my heart.
It's so beautiful too, because the men are so into it, and like, they're starting to recognize like it's a next level of support from them to women. But also like think of like every teenage boy when they're trying to figure out how to ask girls out. Like, this is literally kind of cracking the communication code from like men to women, and even women to men. So I'm very curious to see what happens in like the next 5 to 10 years, based on like women in the workplace, bosses, and like team members responding to this new shift and this new energy. And it's not saying like, because I'll always talk to clients, like, it's not telling them, hey, I'm having my period. Like, I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to tell my male coworker that I don't really have my period. But I would like find a way to communicate my needs, just articulating what I need, and like being firm in that. And people respond to that regardless of what's going on in your body.
Agreed.
So what would you tell like aspiring female entrepreneurs who want to teach women's health? Like, what would be your best advice for them?
I would say that if you feel that you have a calling and you have something, a message to share, and you're feeling called to support people, to absolutely jump forward and do that. And I think that there's two things that hold people back. It's like fear, but also the other biggest one is, there's already so many people, there's so many health coaches, there's so many nutritionists and naturopaths, people talking about periods. No, there is so much room for everybody, because think about how many people there are on the planet that need your support. And instead of looking at people as competition. You look at them as, wow, they're on the same mission as me. And the more women out there supporting women, the more people, that are going to be thriving and healthy. And that's what I will always tell people to do, is there's like always room for you, and you don't need to know what it's going to look like. You don't need it to be pretty or perfect or have it figured out. It's just taking that first step. And then honestly, it all evolves from there. And I think that, like, for me, I didn't know anything about starting a business. I didn't. People always ask me that. I didn't go to business school. I read a lot of books. I listened to a lot of podcasts. I read blogs. I studied the subscription box industry. Like, I can't even tell you how many, like, I called up owners, like, put yourself out there. And, people want to support you, and surround yourself with those people, like other entrepreneurs. Look at meetups and all that jazz. I put myself out there so much when I first started. And yes, it was uncomfortable. I'm also like yes, I'm confident, but I'm also, shy as well. And it's about breaking through all of those fears, and just, if you, having that, like, anything is possible attitude. Anything. I'll always remind myself every single day, anything is possible attitude, and that, like, abundance of trust. That's, and just like that belief in yourself needs to be there. And that's where success is coming from, like your passion, your belief, and that level of trust. And if you have something to give it. Don't hold back. Yeah, that's that's what I would say.
I love that too, because like, I think women's health is starting to become more popular, but I can definitely tell that, like, there's a lot of health coaches, there's a lot of nutritionists, there's a lot of fitness trainers, there's a lot of business coaches, but most of them in like those markets, which is huge, don't talk about a woman's cycle. They don't talk about hormones that come into play for a lot of things. So I think there's such a huge market for women who understand women's health and can bring into their own unique spin. So like, we all, like, especially the women that I've talked to in this summit, everybody has their own unique spin on it, which I absolutely love.
Totally. And that's what attracts people to you over, there's something that will draw people to you instead of me. Everyone's going to create that unique spin on what they have to offer.
Right. And it's definitely finding those people that find the approach that you identify with. Just like you would like go pick a business school, you would pick which one like feels really good to you. There's a bunch of business schools or coaches or whatever. But something I think I really wanted to touch on with you too, before we wrap up, is there is such a misconception on business, especially online business nowadays, that it just happens overnight. And that, like, I remember, I think it was on your website, reading about how long it took you to be able to get those subscription boxes to market. It wasn't like it was just within like 6 months. So like, you have to, and my point of this is like, you have to be in the long haul for it, because like, it's very much trial and error from start to finish. Like, I know you guys, was it last summer that you launched?
Yeah, so I launched July. Yeah, I launched July 2019, but that was launch. There was nearly 3 years of my life of full-time development of Moonbox, of the products. It always surprises me when someone launches a product in a month. I'm like, I'm not touching it. You just literally just package something random and you don't even know what's in it. But it took about 2.5 years of like product development, and strategy and trialing and trialing everything and all the products. And then I launched July last year. It's not the beauty about what I love, what worked for me with Moonbox is that I started an Instagram account a year before I launched. And I treated that as a full-time business. I was posting honestly like 4 times a day. I was building a community. I was showing people like, hey, like I've got this business idea, I'm working on it, and I'm just going to show you guys the journey of me launching a business. And I was able to launch. People were like invested in that journey, and then they wanted to support me, right? So when I first launched, I sold out, and that was fabulous. 350 subscribers to my first intake. And you can get fooled by this because like people think you have this like massive empire and like and it's not that it's not successful, but there's always going to be those ups and downs, because you can launch and it be super successful, but how do you go with the second launch? How do you go with the third launch? How do you go with the fourth?
Sustain it? Yeah.
how do you sustain it, right? And, you know, with all of my other launches, there wasn't that big hype around, boom, I'm launching. So you have to, it's like that patience. And it's, you know, it is for the long run. And I always think that, like, I know my dad always said to me, and it used to annoy me, right? He said, there's no such thing as an overnight success. And I'm like, well, I didn't just put 4 years of my life into creating something for it not to be successful. But actually, you don't want it. Honestly, you don't want it to be an overnight success, because you blow up too fast. And this happened to me. You're not set up. The foundations are not there to support it. So I did not have enough product to meet demand. I didn't have enough customer service to be able to be communicating to my subscribers. So I was doing every single thing. And that's when I started going, okay, because I'm a perfectionist. That's when I was like, I have to be okay and start learning to outsource and delegate. So I was like, I hired a full-time employee, and I needed to do that in order for Moonbox to continue to grow. And I started, you know, oh my gosh, I even got like my parents helping me. I was getting anyone who could help me so Moonbox could stay afloat. But you've got to be in it for the long haul. You have to be resilient. There are so many challenges. You think, I don't share half of my challenges on Instagram, not even. It's just like, you know, you got to remember that Instagram's like that pretty show start. I'll share my challenges, but there is so many more behind it. But if you're hungry and you have that passion, the challenges kind of feed you. And you just rise above each one. And I like, coming into this year, my two like intentions for the year, one was like, my biggest thing was like, can I be more responsive instead of reactive? I feel like it's been my biggest lesson, because
Which is great for PMS. Like, it goes over so well. Like, how can I be aware and mindful of this versus just reacting? Oh, like I just seeing how this all comes together.
And it plays through PMS, plays through business too, because when a challenge was posed to me, or say someone complained about something, immediately as a new business owner, you're like, oh my gosh, someone's not happy. I've got to quickly, you know, fix something to make them happy. And you make a change that then actually does not support you or your business in any way. And so into this year, I was like, I respond and I trust that like everything is fixable. And these things take time. So now I'm just focused on all the little small things, the small foundations, making sure everything is fine tuned, and I'm growing like, you know, amazingly, but I'm also very conscious on the steady growth, and that's how it's manageable. A lot of businesses go too fast and they go under.
Correct. Yeah. It's like they have their Oprah moment. Like, I've heard that so much. Like, people get on Oprah and then it's like they didn't have the support behind the scenes and they go out of business. So I really appreciate you sharing that vulnerability behind the scenes, because I think there's such a misconception that everything just happens and it comes together and it's easy. But like, when you are so passionate about it and you're so fulfilled by your purpose and your mission, like that overrides all of the challenges, because no one gets into business and it being easy. Like, in entrepreneurship, like it's not easy.
And it's that 7 days that, like, I work 7 days a week. Like, yes, I work for myself, and I think that's amazing, and I love that, and I wouldn't change that for the world. But I'm on all the time. And there's, you know, the grass is always greener on the other side. Like, I always say that too. Like, with, you know, people work in an office, people work for themselves. But I think that anyone who wants to start a business, like, if you have the passion that is literally going to drive your daily motivation, like, because I'm a very self-motivated person, but my passion fuels that. If I'm going to pick a business that I'm not passionate about, I might as well work for someone else. It's just not going to happen. But it's definitely, there's no overnight thing. It's been a long haul, and I'm still in it. Like, Moonbox is going amazing, but I have such big dreams for it. But I have to be conscious of not trying to push or expect myself to get there too fast. Because you can get impatient. You're like, why are things moving so slowly? Like, I want 1,000 subscribers, but it's not even about that.
But it's definitely
so not about that.
And I think it too, like the fact that you're in women's health too, and so much about like our push-pull type energy, like you can bring that. I always bring that into like decisions too, of like, oh, I'm noticing resistance here. Maybe I need to table that project right now because it's not time for it to come yet. And then all of a sudden, like a few months later, I'll like pick it back up and it just easily happens. And I'm like, Oh my gosh. Like, so I, even as a business owner, like you can run your business based off like your flow and being like, cycle wise.
Absolutely.
But I
So true.
remember following this business coach for a while when I was first getting started. And I remember her main thing was talking about how she made like 7 figures in 18 months. And like that was her lead on a lot of her ads and like a lot of her stints. And I'm like, but what she's not telling people is all, like, I believe the 7 figures in 18 months for sure.
Yeah,
I believe it's absolutely possible, especially when you
yeah.
have the system, you have the foundation, you've grown your business to that point. But what she was failing, I think, to tell people was how many years before that, how much trial and error. So that's why I really loved listening to you being like, it took me 3 years to go to market, because like that's
I
the
know.
reality. And I feel like people need to hear those stories. Like before I could leave work,
Agreed.
it took me a full year before I could like leave work. It wasn't like I was just decided, yeah, I want to be an entrepreneur,
Yeah, but like,
have a business.
I quit.
Of course not. Like there's no way. So like,
Yeah,
oh, I just, yeah, love the
it's
authenticity, the real deal behind.
absolutely. And that I think it's so important that we do share that side of things, or it can be very deceiving. There's a lot of those like the programs with the 6 figures, and they pop up all the time on my ads, and I'm like, I should create a program.
Right.
Like, yes, you can get there, sure. What it takes to get there,
Correct.
it's a journey. It's a journey. And it's like that patience and the hard work and that deep belief. I just feel, I always just say that, I'm like, I'm constantly every day, I'm like, I believe in myself, like I believe in my business. And whenever I'm thrown a challenge, I'm like, oh no, I'm so much bigger, like my purpose is so much bigger than this small challenge.
Yeah.
And it's constantly looking at the change that you have, staying grounded as well, and constantly reminding yourself of your why. I always have to remind myself of my why. Why did I start Moonbox? Why did I do this? And coming back to that place is so important. And making sure, this is a huge one, is that you listen to the good, like you focus on like the positives, the positive impact you're making, rather than the little things that go wrong behind the scenes. Like I have hundreds of incredible reviews that when you first start, you kind of read them and you're like, yeah, cool, that's amazing, but this is wrong, and this person said that her box was 10 days late or something. It's like, no, like focus on what like the positives that people are saying, that you are changing lives, whether it's one person or 100 people. Like you've changed one person's life. That is amazing.
Right. And I don't know if this has happened to you, but every time I kind of go into that place of self-doubt, or like you're just feeling tired and drained and you're like, do I keep going? Which I think every entrepreneur faces often. It's almost like when I'm in that state, I'll have someone either email me or a client send me something, or someone reaches out on Instagram who's been following me for a while, but has never once said anything and is like thanking me for the information or like the course or whatever. Do you find that like when you're in a moment of self-doubt that something will happen to remind you that
all
you
the
have
time
to keep going?
That's all the time. That is so true. You just get this one little message from someone and you're like, that's what I needed. Thank you. I'll voice message everyone who inboxes me on Instagram. And someone sent me that. I remember it, not that, it was a couple of weeks ago. I was like, oh my gosh, why this year has just been, just one challenge after the other. I literally entered this year being like, this year is going to be more about like me taking a little step back from Moonbox. I'm going to have more fun. I'm going to go move to Bali. And like I had all this vision of 2020, and then it was like Moonbox, bam, 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 and I was like, oh my gosh. And this one girl messaged me and she was like, honestly, Moonbox changed my life, like I can't believe it. And I voice messaged her and I was like, thank you so much. I was like crying.
Yeah. You should next time send them the video message. Send them the video and just be like, this is a real deal. Like, thank you so much.
Like I needed to hear that. Yeah.
And it really does. And it just reminds you like you're connecting with real women on the other side. Even if you just have an Instagram account to start, like it's unbelievable of the reach you can have with people all over the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know you have a freebie that you're going to be offering everyone. It was the PMS ebook. I don't know if you want to take a minute to talk about that.
Yeah. I love that ebook that I created. It goes into, if you're someone who's suffering from cramps, cravings, bloating, breakouts, any of those, very common PMS symptoms, it goes over the foundations that influence these symptoms and like actionable steps and tips, that you can, make in your everyday lives to just get you started with, being able to experience improvements.
Yeah, awesome. I will leave that link in the show notes for women to grab. But thank you so much about like opening up about like the behind the scenes of your business, your why, your journey. I just appreciate you so much. And just thank you so much for being part of this summit.
No, thank you for having me. So welcome.
Mm-hmm.